and welcome. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. I'm Shrishti Sharma, and with me today back is Cheryl D'Souza. And this is your show, viewers, where you get all your stock-related queries answered by the experts. So do get ready. But before coming to that, let's have a look at what the markets are up to. So Cheryl, a decent start for the Indian market, and especially when the global handover was not that great.
Absolutely. A very good morning to you, Shrishti. And looking at the way how the markets are panning out, yes, we are in the positive territory as of now, holding on to some good gains that we build on from the opening lows. So if you look at the benchmark indices, it's trading above. Actually, Nifty is trading above the 18,100 mark. You're seeing Sensex see gains of upwards of about 250 points. Talking about Nifty Bank, that one also is moving in tandem with the benchmark indices, and notably, you have to take a look at the HDFC twins, HDFC Bank as well as HDFC, both of them lending support to the Nifty Bank in today's trading session. Talking about the list of gainers, the top two gainers on the Nifty are from the metal pack. So you have Tata Steel as well as Hindalco that are ruling the charts on the Nifty, as well as you have Wipro also that is seeing good gains in today's trading session. On the flip side, it's Adani Enterprises that is continuing its downward momentum. It is down by about 2.5% right now. If Tata Motors that is seeing some sort of weakness, as well as HDFC Life and BPCL as well, that are in the negative territory. Let's talk about some of the sectoral indices and what they are doing this morning. And PSU Bank Index, that's the one that's the top sectoral loser in today's trading session. It's seeing a downtick of about 1.3% as we speak. Your Realty Index also they're seeing some sort of a pressure, as well as auto. So it looks like the interstate sensitives are the ones that are taking a knock in today's trading session. But on the flip side, you have metal sector, that is the top performing sector in today's trading session, followed by IT as well as FMCG. So that's the one that's seeing good strength. So defensives are on the winning ways today. But on the flip side is the interstate sensitives that are seeing weakness. But apart from that, you have to take a look at what is happening to Nykaa stock, because that one also is hovering around the 52-week low mark. So 5% downtick last time I checked. There you go. It's down about 4% in today's trading session. A lot of weakness seen in most of these new age tech companies, isn't it, Shrishti?
Well, yes, absolutely, Cheryl. And we also keep getting so many viewer queries on all these newest technologies. So on to the Buy Now, Sell Now lens today, we're going to be focusing on all these new age stocks, particularly from the likes of Nykaa as well as Paytm, as these counters have been battered left and right on the stock market. So what is actually ailing these new age technologies companies, and also are these companies on the mutual fund houses radar as well? Soumit is joining with all those analysis. Take it away, Soumit.
Well, if you see all the new age tech companies like Paytm, Cardtrade, PB Fintech, Zomato and Nykaa, all of these companies are not only trading below the issue price, that is the IPO issue price, but if you see from their peak, they're down close to around 70%. Paytm's peak price and the IPO issue price is similar, and the similar cases with Cardtrade as well, because since listing both the stocks have been continuously on a downtrend, and they have fallen close to 71 to 76% from their issue price. And when it comes to PB Fintech, Zomato and Nykaa, if you see from their peak price, these stocks have fallen anywhere between 68 to 69%. Now, what are the reasons because of which these stocks have fallen so much? Firstly, is the expensive valuations at which they got listed on the exchanges. Along with this, if you see, market is expecting that the path to profitability could be delayed further, which has also led to this sell-off. Again, the pre-IPO investors in these companies have been continuously selling their shares in the open market since the lock-in has been lifted on these companies. And lastly, if you see the global market pressure or the global sell-off that we have been seeing in equities is also one of the reason why these companies have been battered down. Now, despite this sharp decline that we have seen in these companies, the Indian mutual funds have not shied away from buying shares in these companies. Like for example, if you see in Paytm, Mirae Asset has been continuously buying shares. Franklin Templeton, Aditya Birla Group have been continuously adding shares. In Cardtrade, it is only ICICI Pru Tech Fund which has added shares in the last couple of months, while in PB Fintech there is Nippon India, Franklin Templeton, Tata Digital and Mirae Asset again who have added shares in the last couple of months. In Zomato and Nykaa, if you see, it's Axis Mutual Fund, Aditya Birla, Mirae Asset, ICICI Pru and Nippon India who have been continuously buying shares in both these companies in the last couple of months.
Thank you so much for that, Somit, for actually outlining what's happening with the new age tech companies and also the fact that you have a lot of mutual funds that have been buying into these counters over the last 2 months. But where are these companies headed from here on? How much more rough patch left for them? Let's bring on board our experts today. We have Kunal Bothra as well as Ashish Kapur joining us on the show. Very good morning to you, Kunal, as well as Ashish. Thank you so much for joining us on Buy Now Sell Now. And Ashish, you heard the analysis by Somit, where he spoke about the stock price performance, what are the mutual fund houses doing, but where do you see these new age tech companies headed from here on? If someone has already purchased these counters, given the fact that in between we did see some sort of a bounce back in these names, what should they do with their holdings now?
Well, I think there are two things. One is that, what we saw for the last few years was a kind of, I won't say a bubble, but kind of a big frenzy in these new age tech startups. And what happened was the valuations went very sky high, and most of them were not profit making, and also there was no clear visibility on when the turnaround will happen and when will the company start reporting profit numbers. It was basically purely based on revenue and revenue growth models. So I think the things have changed. One is, of course, these lofty valuations don't last forever. And 1 year has seen a big the world over, especially in the US. Nasdaq has seen a major correction, as well as the the currencies have seen a major last 1 year. And then in the tech worldwide has seen valuations, kind of taper off. So that has kind of really affected the valuations here, especially of these companies, because there is no profitability in most of the companies, and there is also no visibility, and most of them are burning cash at a very furious rate, and even the survivability of many of them is a question mark. Now, my take here is that after the correction, we have identified four stocks where I think there is some visibility of turnaround. Either they are already at least profit making at the EBITDA level, or there is some visibility on the turnaround, and there's also positive cash flow happening either right now, or there's some visibility of positive cash flow happening in the near future. Now, the four companies are Nika, which is at least, even if it's a very marginal profit. Apple, which is a profitable company with a very good growth and very good business model. Nazara Tech, which is in gaming, which again is profitable and has a very good scope going forward. And the last is Zomato. Zomato is not profit making right now, but there is visibility on positive cash flows and on positive EBITDA happening in the very near future, possibly next year itself. So these are the four companies where the growth seems to be in place, the business model seems to be correct, and there is visibility on profit coming in the very not too distant a future. So these are the four companies which I think investors can look at for buying in this fall. Rest all I think are still, despite the fall, not looking attractive enough, and I think any rise should be used to, take money out of the other stocks.
The fundamental take coming in on all these new age technologies companies, wherein from the whole pack, Ashish picks are Zomato, Nika, Nazara Technologies, as well as Apple India. But Kunal, coming to you, we know that the data set will be quite limited for all these new age technologies companies. But recently, some of the counters like LIC and even Paytm were on your radar. From the new age technology pack, like we have been discussing, any of the counters that has come on your radar and you would recommend a buy on that?
So thank you, Srishti, for that. Good morning. My sense is that most of these new age stock companies which are listed over the last 1.5 odd year, it's always better to try and watch out for chart patterns which are, when these stocks come back from a turnaround mode, from a selling mode to now making patterns of higher highs and higher lows. Now that generally gets justified when these stocks have a propensity of not to go into a sharp correction, but the probability of hitting the previous highs, crossing about those levels is very much strong. For example, we saw that happening for a stock like LIC Housing LIC India. We saw that happening for, I think, a stock like Fino Payment Banks. I think that stock as well managed to come back quite strongly. It's broken past about the 200 moving average much before and much earlier than most of the other tech names. Paytm has stopped going into a corrective mode. At least as of now, the stock is going through a time-wise correction. But the stocks like Nykaa, for example, is still going into a corrective mode, making pattern of lower highs and lower lows. So when you are into such kind of a segment where the data history is very limited, it's always better to try and look out for stocks which have a propensity of making new highs. And I think in that regards, I would probably look out for Fino Payment Banks, maybe Paytm as a candidate of a potential breakout, and LIC India.
Okay, so Kunal just highlighted his picks from the recently listed companies, but from the newish technology packed Paytm and Fino Payment Bank is something that Kunal is liking at this point in time. That was about what's happening with the newish technologies companies, the fundamental and the technical view. But for this, viewers, it's time to slip into a short break, but don't go anywhere. As we come right back, we'll be taking up all your stock related queries.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now Sell Now on ET Now, and markets right now perch at the day's highest point. And given the fact the way how the markets have been reacting since the beginning of this year, Kunal, what should retail investors do in order to protect their wealth?
So, my belief is always that volatility is a friend of investors, but not so great friend for a trend trader. So, all you have to do is, you have to identify your time horizon, your style of trading, what is the kind of risk appetite which you're looking to adhere towards, and then try and identify the style in which you are looking to trade or looking to invest. Now, I always believe that stick towards quality stocks. There would be opportunities which even a quality stock from the larger cap front, even from the mid cap front, they would throw time and again. Use volatility to add major corrections and major corrections to add on to these kind of quality stocks. And if in case you are looking out for trading the momentum names or the high beta stocks, we call it so, it's always better to be more disciplined towards these kind of stocks. And I believe in that regards, this could be an ideal recipe of trying to go for more winning trades and trying to cut your losing trades very quickly. So I believe that's the basic strategy which one has to adhere to in every market scenario.
Okay, so that's the advice coming in for all our retail investors. But let's move on and kickstart taking all your stock related queries. And Kunal, coming to you again, the first question is for you particularly. That's coming from Pratiksha, and this one is on fertilizer counters. With budget in next 9 or 10 trading days, we'll see the budget coming up. She wants to know, is this a good time to enter stocks like RCF, UPL and Rallis India at this point in time? And if yes, what are some of the targets that she should be looking out for?
So RCF and Rallis, these are good stocks where you can look to trade as well as look to invest into these names. But then the ideology, as I just mentioned earlier, that has to be clear that you're playing for a theme, you're playing for a budget kind of a theme over here. And in case if there is any kind of a negative news flow, these stocks may fall down also very quickly. But at that point of time, it's always better to try and have a stop loss in your mind and then try and exit the trades in case if these stocks hit a certain lower level or a support point on your trades. For example, for RCF, I think over the last many weeks I've been advocating a buy on dips closer to 120 odd mark, 120 and below. The stock has actually come back towards that 120 mark and bounced off from those levels in the last couple of days. So I would maintain that stance for a stock like RCF. UPL, I'm not so sure that I think it's a good candidate to buy because the stock keeps on disappointing. It's largely into a trading range over the last 2 years. Rallis India, yes, you may look to buy, but I think at a breakout point about 260 would be a better zone to buy Rallis India.
All right, the next query that I have is coming in from Soumitra, and Soumitra wants to view on Loris Labs, Ashish. He wants to know if it's a buy or a hold. He wants to know about the 1 year perspective as well as a 3 year perspective for Loris Labs. Also, if you have penciled in any earnings growth numbers for this particular counter, Ashish.
I haven't penciled any earnings growth estimates, but generally, yes, the company is good. And I think pharma overall has been kind of underperforming and is underowned because it hasn't done much in the last, year and a half. So I think it's a good time to enter, and I think you can buy as long as you have a 1 to 3 year kind of time perspective.
Okay, moving on to the next one. Ashish Murari Prasad has been holding stocks of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank from a price of 31 rupees 23 paisa. Going ahead, he can still hold it for another 1 year. So, what's your view on that? Can this counter give him considerable profits?
But it will also depend on the market. But if the market remains good, I think there should be no reason why he should not make money from here. Of course, 1 year perspective is a little less for a small bank, which is yet to really get established. So I would urge him to try and consider keeping his time frame for more than 1 year. And 1 year, like I said, would also depend on the market. I mean, if the market remains good, there's no reason why Ujjivan should not get money from here. But if the market does remain sideways or negative, you could be in a position where you haven't made money or maybe a small loss also.
All right, the next one is coming from Santi, and this one is for you, Kunal. Bharti Airtel Jan 470 call option at 15 with a target of around 490 to 495 rupees on the spot. Also, the stop loss is around 462 to 455. Now, what he's asking is your view and the caution that he needs in order to maintain the higher risk reward. Higher risk reward is what he's saying.
Is it Bharti Airtel?
Bharti Airtel is what is, yeah, Bharti
Surprising
Airtel.
because the stock price is actually at 775. So I'm not sure whether you've mentioned the right price of right strike
Jan
price.
470 call is what he's
Yeah, but that will be
written.
deep in the money. It's like as good as buying futures. But nevertheless, my view on Bharti Airtel is that the stock is now going through a bit of a time-wise consolidation phase. So after the news flow which had happened for Bharti Airtel, I think a week or two back, the stock is just trying to grapple into some kind of a trading range. Not a best case scenario for you to buy a call option over here, because the probability that the stock may go into a time-wise correction is far higher as compared to any kind of a breakout of a trend for the stock, unless there is any kind of an impetus which the budget provides for such kind of a space. So I would suggest that I think if it's above your cost price or you are sitting into some kind of profits, it makes sense to exit this call option.
Okay, moving on. Kunal, Bharat wants to know your view on ITD cementation. He bought this counter at a price of 135. What's your view for the next 6 to 12 months on this?
So I'm bullish on the entire cement space, specifically towards larger cap names. That's where I would probably have a more higher tilt towards. But then from ITD cementation, I think that stock is also trying to come back quite okay for itself. It's still not come back towards the previous life highs of I think 140, 144, some distance away. But then eventually I believe that the stock would probably try and come back to those levels and break past above the previous major swing highs as well. So I would suggest to stay on, invest into this name, possibly for the next 9 months to 12 months. You can expect 140, 144 as a potential target for ITD cementation.
All right, Muthu Palani wants to know about NMDC. Ashish, he's been accumulating this particular counter prior to the NMDC steel split. He wants to know whether it makes sense to add some more at these levels. What's your take on NMDC?
Well, certainly it makes sense, I think, because deep undervalued stock still. And I think minerals, metals generally would do well in this year because I think uncertainty and return to normalcy after that does augur well for metals and commodities as a whole. So that should favor this stock. And also, I think the PSU basket itself is kind of getting re-rated, and slowly the earnings and the momentum, share price momentum is picking up across the board. So I think NMDC should also do well. And as it, like I said, I think at this price it is deep value stock. So I think whenever the value buying happens, this stock should do well. Limited downside risk, upside potential is very good. So I think stay invested is my recommendation.
Okay, Ashish, the next one is for you. That's coming from Lavish, and he has bought 500 shares of VLS Finance at a price of 182 at the current market price only. He entered this counter. Do you track this one?
No, I don't track this one, so I'll let it pass.
Okay, Kunal, anything on the charts that you can see? Because I can see that after a long consolidation, the stock is breaking out. But any catch up from the volume side? Any advice?
Yeah, I think it's trying to come back quite strongly. I don't track the stock that often, but then on the last 1 month of charts, the volumes have been exponentially high for the stock as compared to the volumes over the last maybe 6-8 months for the stock price. Come back about 200 DMA, broken past about that 150 barrier. So looks attractive, and based on this volume setup and the eagerness of the price rally, I would believe that you may see some bit of more upside. A buy on dips is what I would suggest. 183 is where the stock is trading. 150 is the 200-day moving average. You may look to buy somewhere in between. So, on steps, maybe at 180, 170 and 160. These are the three steps which you can probably try and look to accumulate further.
All right, this one has come from Satya and he wants a fundamental view on Gina's papers. He's already holding on to this counter and he wants to add some more. So he wants to know whether it makes sense to do that. Gina's papers, do you track this one by any chance, Ashish?
No, I don't track.
Kunal, have you given a look at the charts for this one?
Well, I don't track the stock, and I sense it's a illiquid name, 17, 18 rupees odd as a chart, as a price, and the volumes are also very, very low for this kind of a two-digit name. Ideally, you should avoid such kind of stock. Stick to West Coast paper or maybe JK paper. These are better traded and better quality names.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on paper stocks. But with this, it's time to slip into a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Buy Now, Sell Now, and let's keep it going with all your stock-related queries. And Ashish, coming to you for the next one. This one is coming from Palakuru, and he has bought 1,200 shares of Federal Bank at a price of 132. Post results, we did see a short rally for this particular counter, but it did manage to fade off. But what's your view on Federal Bank for the shorter term? And is this a worth to have this counter as a portfolio stock?
Well, certainly worth having this stock as a portfolio stock. And I think over a period of time, it should do very well. Short term is difficult to say. It depends a lot on where the market goes. But on over a period of time, I'm quite confident that this stock can deliver very positive returns because the bank has turned around and is doing very well now, is expanding. And I think over a period of time, it's still a very good idea for creating capital. The short term, like I said, will depend a lot on where the market goes. But long term, I'm very bullish on this.
All right, the next query is coming in from Sagar. He wants a combo view from both of our experts, and this one is on Torrent Power. He's saying that he's bought about 2,000 shares at around 1,560 rupees per share for the shorter term. So he wants to know, will this particular counter outperform the entire space or no? And for you, in particular, Ashish, what he wants to know is how is 2023 looking for the pharma sector? Do you think that this will be a year of or a comeback for the pharma space? Do you see them outperforming? Also, what sort of growth numbers are you penciling in for the entire pharma sector in this year?
So I'll start off.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Kunal.
Yeah, so I'll start off because the first part of the question was addressed on charts. Torrent Pharma, I think is a stock which is now trying to get into a recovery phase. You have to be a bit sanguine over here that the stock gets into those odd periods of time-wise correction, which elongates a time for a trader to try and hold on to the stock. So I think my best suggestion would be to try and get into any kind of the stock has already gotten into breakout mode. Let the breakout trade for another maybe couple of weeks. If the stock comes closer to 1650, 1700 mark, I think that's a good zone where you may look to book out profits and then buy back when the stock gets into a time-wise correction or a price-wise correction.
Right, Ashish, what's your view then on the entire pharma space, especially on Torrent Pharma and the pharma sector? What sort of an earnings growth number are you penciling in?
well, like I said earlier, I think pharma overall looks quite good because we have had more than a year of underperformance now, and generally this sector is pretty stable and consistent in its growth numbers. We have had a little bad year. There have been some result misses, so pharma generally has underperformed and should do well in this year. Very difficult to give a yearly prediction on how the pharma will do in 2023, but I think if you're a long-term investor, and which I've been recommending also, and in my own portfolio also I've been adding, the pharma names should be added if you're a long-term investor. Torrent Pharma, no exception. I think is also one of the better managed and better run pharma companies. So outlook is positive. Very difficult to say whether 2023 will be a great year or 2024 will be, but generally next 2-3 years should be good for pharma companies from this level, and same holds for Torrent Pharma.
Okay, moving on and switching back again to the fertilizer sector, keeping budget in view, can see a lot of queries on this one. But Ashish, let me come to you for the next one. Subrata Mukherjee wants to know, is this a good time to enter into GNFC and GHCL for the long-term perspective, and especially in the short-term, keeping budget in view? What's your view on that?
Well, I personally think that the budget is quite over, reacted on, and think nothing really moves so much in the budget anymore. Frankly speaking, I think it's just a statement of accounts and broadly policy direction. We kind of really overhype the things. There was a time when a lot of changes used to happen. GST is anyway out of the budget preview, and a lot of things do not really make the broad policy direction, and the direction of the economy doesn't really change much with any budget. So let's not overreact on any budget announcements, and especially sectors like fertilizers. I don't see why so much hype is being built around it. Overall, yes, GNFC is a good stock. Again, depends a lot on the movement of chemical prices. So if you buy these stocks, you have to really keep tracking the underlying chemicals in which they deal with. But yes, on a long-term trajectory, GNFC is certainly a good buy. Company is well managed, and the chemicals in which they deal in should have good growth going ahead. Short term, very, very difficult to say because the chemical prices move very fast and things change very fast. But if you have a 2-3 year kind of time frame, then yes, GNFC has corrected also a fair bit from its peak. So should be a good time to enter. The other one was GACL, right?
GHCL.
GACL, Gujarat Ambuja. Yeah.
GHCL.
Alkali. Okay, so Gujarat Alkali is a good stock. I think it's corrected a fair bit from its peak. Again, a classic example of what happens when the underlying chemical price softens. So this happened with Gujarat Alkalis. That's why the stock has corrected a fair bit from its peak. Again, I think at the present juncture, it looks very good for a long-term accumulation. I think the stock is in a good range for long-term investors. Short-term, again, looks very difficult because the chemical price is kind of correcting. So I don't think short-term anything will happen in this counter. But long-term, I think a good entry point at this point of time.
Next one is coming in from Manish Raju, and this one is for you, Kunal. He wants to know whether you still recommend buying Anant Raj as well as AB Capital with a 3 to 6 month horizon. What sort of levels and targets should one look at? These were your 2023 top picks. Do you suggest that you can still enter into these counters? Because I know that when you gave a 2023 pick, it was a 12-month horizon that one should look at.
Well, yes, I would still be bullish on these names, and I think, as you rightly said, these are longer term kind of time frames. So we don't look out for a couple of weeks of time horizon. Even if the stock is up, I think it's up 8.5% so far this month. But I would still be very bullish on the stock, and my expectation is that these are turnaround candidates, and you have to let the turnaround play out for these stocks, both in terms of maybe fundamentals as well as in terms of stock prices. And I think that's a time span which we keep a buffer upon. And I think 9 months to 12 months is a decent enough time frame for both of these stocks to outperform. So I would be bullish on both of these names. Would recommend a buy at current levels as well as on any major corrections or dips, which is spot on these names.
Okay, Kunal, coming to you for the next one. Suresh has bought shares of FACT at a price of 363, and after he bought this counter, the stock was under pressure, but yesterday and even today is holding in green. What's your view on that? Book losses or hold on?
See, this is exactly what I said at the start when I was discussing about the investor query. I would believe that these are the kind of momentum names which you have to be very disciplined about. Now, you've bought at the extreme end of the price curve for the stock. It's always better to wait out for a phase of correction, irrespective how steep the rally has been going through for a stock price. There are bound to be periods where the stock may go into a multi-day, multi-week rally, but then when the correction happens, the corrections happen to be very sharp and steep. So it's better that you buy on dips, buy on corrections rather than on the peak of momentum. I would believe that at current levels, you may probably get maybe another few percentage points of rally, 335, 340s. I believe a near-term resistance for the stock price closer to that level is where I believe you should look to exit.
All right, Kunal, let me give you a breather because after this query that I asked to Ashish, rest all the queries are going to be directed towards you. Ashish, the next one that I have is coming in from Salish. He wants to know about Balaji Amines. He's saying that is it a good time to invest in this stock for the long-term perspective? Do you think that this is a standout candidate among that particular space?
Yes, certainly it. That's a very good company. It is historically has created a lot of value, and I don't see any reason why it will not continue to doing so. A very good choice. Yes, I agree. It's a very good, very good idea for long-term capital creation.
Ashish, coming to you, Satyam wants to know a long-term view for, or the rather 2 years perspective on VGuard. He bought this counter at a price of 224, currently at a mild profit. What will be your advice?
I think the advice will be positive. I think the company is doing well. The sector also is poised for very good growth, and I think it should be a good stock to hold on from the 2-year perspective.
Wants to know about FCL 220 shares at 41 rupees per share. He wants to know what's your view for the next 6 months. Continue to hold on to it or look to exit?
You can continue to hold on. As of now, indicator seems to be coming into an oversold territory for FCL, and I think in that regards, you may look out for a bounce. 260 to 70 could be a good price where you can look to exit.
Okay, so that's the view coming in for you. But for this, it's time to slip into a short break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, and we have last few minutes left. So let's make it worth it, experts, and let's keep your answer as brief as possible. Kunal, let me take the next query to you. This one is coming from Vivek, and he has Just Dial in his portfolio. He's saying it has moved up 14% in the last 2 trading sessions, but is there any more scope for an upside? Can he look to buy some more and average? Because he already purchased Just Dial. He's under losses. His buy price was 925.
Yeah, I think you can continue to stay put on Just Dial. Look to add, I think if it dips back towards 625, which is also yesterday's low as well as today's support for the stock, that could be a point where you may look to average further.
Okay, Ashish, the next question is from Bala. He's looking to enter Excel Industries at the current market price. Would you suggest a buy in this one?
Well, I haven't tracked Excel, so I'm.
Okay. Kunal, any views on Excel Industries?
Well, I would suggest just hold on to the stock. No need to add or average. But then if it comes closer to 1275, 1300, which is also the 200 DMA, good time to exit.
Okay, Kunal, KR Balan has 500 shares of Jubilant Food, 575 rupees per share. Ather Industries, 980 is the buy price. Should he continue to hold on to both of these counters or look to switch to IT shares like Infosys or Birlasoft? Looks like Birlasoft is something that Mr. Balan has been liking because he's been asking off late whether he should switch from his current holdings to Birlasoft.
Yeah, you may add Birlasoft, but it should not be a major part of your IT basket or IT portfolio as such. I think it's always better to stick towards larger cap IT names, and I'm not sure how much is your composition. I would stick to HCL Tech and possibly Infosys as better names. But then out of the 2 names which you mentioned, I think Ather is something which you may look to average at current zone. The stock seems to be coming back into a bit of a recovery phase. So that's a stock which I would suggest to add.
Okay, Ashish, Mega has bought shares of Dixon Technologies at a price of 3,800, currently at a loss. So any hopes on recovery, or she should sell out this counter?
No hopes of recovery are certainly there. I think the stock is a fair way. Otherwise, yes, a very well managed company and a very good bet on the PLI scheme in manufacturing in India. And I think the future does look good. The company also is very well managed, and I think there's a lot of scope in electronic manufacturing here in India. So I think on the whole, the stock looks quite good. Yes, run into a bit of rough weather. That happens with every counter. So I think if as long as you don't have a time constraint, hold on. I think eventually you will make good money here.
Dhananjay wants to know about Galaxy Surfactant with a 1-year view. Wants to know how does this counter look like, Kunal, and on the charts, any indication why such a sharp downtick in this counter?
Well, not sure why the stock is down, but then the charts are not looking very attractive as such. The only comforting point for Galaxy Surfactants is that the indicators are nearing into an oversold territory, which means that there should be a probability of a bounce from here. But then I'm not sure that whether the bounce would be a major bottom for the stock or it would just be a pit stop in the larger scheme of things, and the stock may go into a corrective phase. Any which ways, I think it's better that you play in for the bounce and possibly exit on rallies somewhere closer to 5 to 10% odd.
Okay, Kunal, the next one is for you. Anubhav has bought Borosil Renewables 85 shares at a price of 509. What's your view for the next 2 years?
See, I think it's a good stock to hold on to. Yes, it's been extremely sideways, but such are the kind of stocks which go into multi-bagger returns in a short time span and then go into a prolonged period of consolidation. So I would suggest that current levels of 490, 500, it's a good stock to hold on to.
All right, next, with that, actually, let's kickstart with the rapid fire then. And this one is coming in from Manjunath. Latent View, Happiest Mind, Root Mobile for a 2-year time frame. Good to add during corrections, Kunal?
Yeah, Latent View, Happiest Minds could be good stocks where you can look to average.
Okay, Kunal Shiva wants the short-term view on BEL. He has 5,000 shares at a price of 104.
See, I'm extremely bullish on it, but don't keep a very short-term view. The stock may disappoint. It's better that you have a time frame of at least 6 months plus for BEL.
Okay, Pawan wants a 3-year view on SRF. He's already purchased at 2,389 rupees per share. Ashish, stay put with this one.
Yes, certainly stay put. Look to add.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This one's coming from Madan and Kunal. Good time to enter Axis Bank.
Well, yes, I think it's a very good time to enter Axis Bank, and if you are looking to add on to another private sector name, I would suggest even IDFC First Bank.
Kunal, this one is specifically for you from Raja on Spark. Is it a good bet for the medium term and at what price?
I would suggest to avoid.
Okay, Kunal Shashwat is holding 200 shares of Indiabulls Housing Finance at a price of 215. Wants the view for the next 6 months to 1 year.
Looking ripe for a minor bounce from here on, but I'm not sure whether the stock would come back to 200 plus levels anytime soon.
Okay, Akash has L&T Tech at a price of 4,500 rupees per share. Kunal, should he hold or average 3 to 6 months as the time frame?
Yeah, I think at current levels it's a good time to average.
Okay, Ashish Hari is holding Biocon shares for the past 3 years, still at profit. Going ahead, what will be your advice?
But I think with the still in a profit, book profit here.
All right, Lakshmi has 250 shares of Advanced Enzyme. Kunal, 330 is the buy price. Should hold or sell?
I think you can continue to hold on.
Okay, Kunal Vishwanathan Nair wants to know from you. Good time to enter Quest Corp?
Yes, good time to enter Quest Corp. I think the stock has corrected quite steeply. Come back towards oversold nature of indicators.
Okay, Hemant, Kunal, for you, ABFRL, has the bottom been formed here? Can we start accumulating? What sort of target you have for ABFRL for the next 1 to 2 years?
Well, in fact, after yesterday's price action in the volume data, I would probably be of the inclination that the stock has found a major bottom. Good time to buy. 320 plus could be a target for that kind of a time span.
Okay, let me just take the last one. We have query from Leon and Ashish. She's bought 3,800 shares of Tata Steel at a price of 100 rupees. Good time to book profits or hold on? Ashish, this one is for you.
Yeah, okay. I hold on because so continue to hold on. Tata Steel.
All right, hold is the call coming in for Tata Steel. But with that, we are totally out of time on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. Thank you so much, Kunal, as well as Ashish for joining us on the show, talking about the new age tech stocks and resolving viewer queries. And viewers, it's a wrap on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. Goodbye from Shrishti, myself, and the team that put the show together.